Hey, my name is Arunn Logan, and I work as Thurston Law as an articling student, and I went to the University of Leicester.
Hey, my name is Vibeeshan Mahendran. I had the pleasure of articling at Ramachandran Law. Currently, I work as a clerk and I'm waiting to be licensed. I also went to Leicester University in the UK.
Hi, my name is Arththy Balachandran. I'm currently a law clerk at Ramachandran Law, and I went to Oxford Brookes in the UK.
So my experience with UK Law School, it actually started with me starting the program at Seneca College for both the paralegal and law clerk program. So 6 months in, the teacher that was teaching one of our classes, I believe was real estate, they're a lawyer. They actually told us about their sister program in the UK that's connected to, it wasn't the University of Leicester, but it was a different law school. But they said that how they have programs for us who want to transition into the legal field in terms of becoming a lawyer. So the way they explained it to me, it just seemed like the better option for me wasn't to actually complete my paralegal law clerk program and then actually head over to the UK. It would be an accelerated program for 2 years, and then I could actually take another equivalency courses when I do come back to Canada, known as the NCAs, and then once I do get an equivalency of the Canadian standard, that I could go ahead and transition using the same processes that Canadian law students use here in order to complete my articling and pass the bar, and then subsequently get called to the bar. So that was my first introduction there, and it interested me, so I pursued that route.
I came across the UK as an option at the beginning of undergrad. What attracted me was the fact that it was 2 years, so it was an accelerated LLB, and the other fact was you didn't have to write the LSAT. So when I got to 4th year in undergrad, I still hadn't written the LSAT. So I thought rather than stick around and try to get in and possibly not get in, I thought this would be a viable option.
For me, it was Seneca, so I had gone there to do the paralegal program, and just like Vibeeshan, I was introduced to the program there. And after I had completed my paralegal, I took a year off and was deciding whether to do the paralegal or to go to law school. And I had decided to do law school, and if I was going to do it here, I had to do the LSAT and then 2 years of university to get a degree. So instead of that, I decided to do it in UK, which it was 3 years for me.
So just to summarize, I feel like all three of us, it was about the timing. It's about that we did not have to write the LSAT, and that we had a viable option to actually become lawyers once we did return.
So I came across this service called Across the Pond. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, and they pretty much set me up with an advisor who helped me through the process.
That's the same service that me and Arthy did use as well.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest one out there. They actually streamlined the entire process for us, so it made it super easy. If you guys are thinking about going that route, it would always be better to get an agent that has done this process thousands of times potentially, right?
Yeah, because they list out all the steps for you and everything you need, from like all the documents you need to fill out to everything you need, and even like mostly they'll like take all your IDs and everything and fill out most of it for you, and then tell you like the personal stuff that you need to fill out, and like that makes it easier because you know your application is not going to get rejected for any reasons because they've actually taken care of most of all the stuff for you.
And they review it right before you
Yeah.
send it in. They tell you where you need to go to get your visa, where to apply for your UK student visa, what you need to actually get it approved. There are financial obligations that you need to complete as well, because one of the major hurdles for me personally was to show that I had enough money in my bank account in order to survive or live my life in the UK for those 2 years.
But they give you that information ahead of time too when
Yeah.
you're starting the process. Like these are things you need to have when you're starting this process. If you don't, like make sure you have them in place before you even start the process. Otherwise, it's going to be put on hold anyways.
They made the process easy. I don't really know what other option I would have done if it wasn't for the Across the Pond, if they didn't streamline it so well.
Yeah, even things like university application deadlines, the personal statement, all that stuff, they guided you through the whole thing.
They even for me, my advisor actually after I got it done and I did it, she edited it also. She's like, I think you should add these in or take these things out. I think you should put this in,
Right.
in it, so it's better for you, and it's something. These are things that stands out for the universities fees and things like that.
Yeah, and if I recall correctly, they even weighed the pros and cons for particular universities, especially for students that are trying to come back. Right?
Yeah, and they also give you a list of universities where they think that you are higher in to get in, and and things like that. They helped you out in every way that possible they can.
I actually went to the UK in 2016, so I don't remember it too well. Do you guys remember what their fee or charge was?
I think it's a free service, actually.
I think it was a free service too, yeah. I don't think there was a charge for them.
Oh, okay, they may get a cut from maybe
Potentially, yeah.
the school itself.
So in 2016, when I did my law school in UK, my tuition fee was around £13,000, which I would say was roughly about 20,000 Canadian per year.
So you went to Oxford Brookes. What
Yes.
was the cost of living and stuff like there?
Cost of living was actually quite expensive for me. I think per year, because I lived on residence too all 3 years, it was anywhere between, I think, in Canadian dollars, anywhere between I think like $10,000 to $12,000 per year, and this is just residence, and then other expenses were just separate. But yeah, just residence was about that. But I think it is a little bit higher now though.
Right. So me and Vivi went to Leicester,
Yeah.
and I know the fees right now for international students is around £17,000.
Yeah.
So when we went, I think I did the senior status program, so it was only
Same.
2 years. So I think I was spending anywhere from 40 to 50,000 per year, all in, including accommodation, travel expenses, and all
I
that.
think that's how much it would have been for me around then too. Yeah, about 40 to 50 a year Canadian.
Right.
Yeah, by the end of it for me, it was totaled about $100,000 Canadian, right? And I think at the time that me and Arunn went there, and even Arththy, I think UK talked about Brexit, so the pound was actually a little bit lower, so we
Yeah.
got a little bit of benefit there. I actually spent some time traveling as well because of the fact that we were still
Right.
part of the EU. But you're looking for at least it's $100,000 investment, and if you compare it to something at a Canadian law school, it's very comparable, right?
Yeah.
Because me and Arunn did the 2-year program.
I did the
Arththy
3 years, so
3-year
mine was a
program.
little bit more expensive because I had to do the extra year. But yeah.
So then if you compare that now to a 4-year law school program in Canada, it's very comparable, right? So I don't know, maybe it's a little bit more or less, but you're looking around the 100K range, right?
So the biggest pro for me personally was definitely not having to write the LSAT.
Yeah, and also the other biggest pro is that it's either 2 years or 3 years, depending on if you have a degree or not a degree. So it's lesser time compared to what it is here.
And for me personally, it was a way to expand my horizons per se. Like you get to go see a new country, you get to interact with people you possibly could never be interacting with, right? So it's not only law school but the school of life as well, right? So
Yeah,
you
it
get
definitely
that
opens up your network, right?
Exactly, right? So it opens you up as a person too, right? So even conversation pieces, etc., right? Like you could use these experiences for future.
Gives you more of a real life experience kind of thing to step out of your parents' bubble
Mhm.
and actually, go somewhere and you have to do everything on your own and learn everything on your own. So
It's
Yeah.
true, because especially in our culture and the way we were raised, it's a very sheltered home, or we get our school fees, university fees, either through OSAP or through our parents, and maybe, but it's a totally unique experience.
touching up on OSAP, I actually got a little bit of OSAP covered when
Yeah,
I
so
was in
did
the
I.
UK.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's certain schools in the UK that actually covers you for I think it's your residence fee or your
Right.
weekly fee kind of OSAP thing is covered for certain schools.
Okay, was that from over here?
Yeah, so
Okay,
here,
OSAP.
but so it's a Canadian money, but
Okay,
they
that
cover
you-
you per week for there. Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I actually wasn't eligible, so it was, yeah.
Yeah.
I think the biggest con would obviously be the stigma associated with going to the UK. That could make it more difficult securing articling and things like that. Did you guys find that to be true as well?
Well, for me, as of right now, I haven't really started my articling, but when I do start,
For me, it was actually a difficult process. So I was very lucky to actually get in touch with Vibeeshan Mahendran, right? In order to get a articling position. So, I would walk into certain law firms, and first thing they would ask me, it would be oh, you went to a UK law school, right? And then it just felt like the interview went a certain direction after that.
Right, and just to piggyback off your point, we don't have the same access to career fairs and job fairs in the UK, right? Everything there is obviously
in their base, yeah.
Exactly.
So there is that challenge when it comes to transitioning in terms of that stigma, but because more and more people are using the UK route, and I guess the Canadian scene is getting flooded more and more with law students from the UK who are originally from Canada, there needs to be some sort of filter. So I guess that in itself will weed out whoever did go there for just the reasons that they thought that maybe this is an easier route. But the thing is, once you get back to Canada, the pressure, the difficulty level, it still gets back to on par to any Canadian law school or anyone trying to get an articling position, even from a Canadian law school. I think what most people are interested in is how the actual transition works to become a Canadian lawyer. So for me personally, I chose to take the NCA route. So the NCA is the National Committee on Accreditation. So they will actually look at your file, and every person's file would be different just depending on which law school you've been to, what courses you took there. And then once they do a review of your file, typically it's about 5 courses depending on length of the university that you went to, how many courses you took, what type of courses you took. But for me personally, I had to come back and write 7 exams. 5 were mandatory, 2 were elective. They were all open book, and you could actually bring in notes, and you could take them at any time that you wanted to. However, the NCAs, what they do is there's certain months that you can only write certain exams. So essentially, they're staggered in a way that if in one writing period you're taking, say, family law, in the other writing session, family law will not be there. But I don't know if you guys' experiences were a little bit different.
So when I started the NCA process, initially it was only offered I think 4 times a year, and there were multiple
Sittings?
yes. Well, no, not sittings, but multiple
Examination courses.
courses per session, right? But the way they have it now, it's actually offered every month, so you
Okay.
can plan out.
Yeah, so it is offered every month, but even though it's offered every month, it rotates every like 4 months.
The electives rotate.
No,
right?
so no, even the mandatory. So if you write in like January, the January 4 exams won't come back up until April.
Right.
So like they're still like separated,
okay.
but you can write an exam like whatever you want it is every month it's listed, but that's only because it's online now, right? Because you did yours in person.
Some were in person, some were online.
Yeah, so now it's fully in person. I mean online, and I think they brought it down to like 3 hours again now.
Oh, right, because
Yeah.
Near the end it was 4 hours
Yeah.
per exam. Yeah.
And with the NCAs, you actually have to sit through your whole 3 hours. So if you're planning on doing it, just take all your
Yeah.
whole 3 hours. They would not let you leave early.
And I guess if you're not someone that likes to self-study and you prefer like a structure, an option would be the LLM. So when I finished, I think the 3 options we had were the UFT LLM, Osgood's LLM, and UBC's. So basically it's a common law LLM and you're taking the NCA courses. And I guess you also have like other electives as well. I personally don't recommend it just because the cost really outweighs the benefit. It costs a lot more than the NCAs. Did either of you guys do the LM?
No, I just did the NCA.
No, because I believe like the average price for an NCA examination was
Depends on just the cost of your exam, and then if you're buying any study materials.
Right.
Like there's tutors and everyone that's out there to like actually do the courses and stuff for you. So yeah, I think it is still cost effective compared to the LLM.
Right.
So once you are done your NCAs, the next step would be to doing your articling and your bar exam. Once it comes to articling, you can go out and find your own articling positions, or there is the LPP program where you apply for it at Ryerson. And once you get in, there is a 4-month program, and then you do your 4 months of articling, which they will help you find firms for. However, one of the cons with it is that some of your articling positions won't be paid. So there is that, but it is a resource that's out there if you are having a difficulty time finding articling.
And one thing I would add to that is I believe you have to be registered by August. So if you're completing your NCA exams, just make sure you have your results, or you anticipate that your results will be there by August. So you could do the 4 months and obviously then do the 4 months actually work term as well. I definitely had mixed reviews with going to the UK. My parents initially were aware of the stigma, so they were hesitant. But once they realized I was getting a good quality education and the fact that I could transition back fairly seamlessly, they were okay with it. How about you, Arthy?
So for me, my parents were more open to it because I did my paralegal at Seneca, and then for me to do law school here, I had to do another 2 years of undergrad, and then I had to do the 3 years of law school, well, prior to law school, writing the LSAT. So I had opened up and let them know that, there is an option for me to do my law degree in the UK, and then that the transition is not that, bad. And they had known a couple of other family friends who had done it, so they were kind of open to it. And that's how I got to go, and they were open with me going.
For me, I would say I was probably in Arunn's boat as well. We had mixed reviews. At the time, I was actually working at one of the major financial institutions in Canada. So I come from a Brown family, so I have the aunties that were always like, "Oh, you're in a good job. You have a great job. Why are you going back to school?" Right? But for me, it was a passion thing, right? So it's the degree that I got at UFT Scarborough. I did an honors degree in political science. I wasn't really using any of the skills that I developed there. So then also the monotony of the daily grind at my job as well. I just decided that this was the best decision for me personally and professionally, and I also got the blessing from my family at the end of the day, and that was kind of my relationship with actually getting the okay to head out.
So yeah, I guess to continue off your point, in retrospect, would you recommend going to the UK?
100% I would recommend going to the UK. Personally, because I'm on the cusp of actually realizing my dream of actually becoming a lawyer. So I guess all three of us here are living proof that if you are dedicated and work hard enough, that you can actually transition into the profession.
I also would recommend going to the UK. However, the only thing I would say is that when you're going to the UK, even though it is a shorter time period, you should, know exactly why you're going there and be passionate about it. And it's a good experience, and we've all done it, and we would always recommend it.
I guess I would definitely recommend the UK. It definitely expanded my horizons. I don't mean to sound cliche, but it was definitely a good experience, and it set me up to where I am now. So, anything you'd like to add?
It's just, I guess all three of us, we understand how hard of a decision this can be. If there are people out there looking to see this as a viable option to becoming a lawyer, we would love to hear your feedback. If you have questions or concerns, any other that we didn't touch upon over here, please DM us. You could send us questions. We'd love to help support other people that are trying to realize their dreams here as well. I know my lawyer next door is looking to help for anyone that's trying to transition into UK law school and in the legal profession as a whole. So please DM us and give us any of your questions or feedback that you would like to hear from us.